All right, so we're done with our essential chassis build. I'm going to show you how to do something else on here. So what I've done is I've made a custom piece. I'm just going to make a very simple piece for this one just for demonstration purposes. But what you can see is I've added maybe a piece that I might laser cut, or I could technically 3D print this. And I'm going to attach it onto the side of my chassis. So what you can see here is the piece on there. You can also see these little holes on here. And you can see they actually perfectly align with holes in the U channel. So that's one of the beautiful things about using OnShape is that you can import all these parts, existing parts, but then also make your own parts that fit together with this. So if we look back like the Rabbi CAD, to go back to the very beginning, this is very beginning of our set of lessons on this. Like this entire thing is planned out on here, and we have a bunch of custom parts that go along with existing parts. So I'm going to show you how to do that in this. I'm going to make just a basic rectangle on this, not very fancy, but it will at least demonstrate the skill to you. So we'll start back with a regular chassis. Actually, I need to delete one other thing on here. So you start with a regular chassis. This should be where we left off in the last video. And what I want to do is I want to create, I'm in the assembly. Remember we talked about an assembly versus a part studio. I want to create a part for my assembly. I can do that with this little button here, create part studio in context. Part studio, so create part studio. So we're going to create a part in context. The context here is like the thing that already exists. So we want to create a part that references existing pieces of our design. So let's see, what we need to do to create a part studio is we first need to have a kind of a starting point. So it says like the origin or a make connector. So basically this should be like, okay, where do we want to focus our sketch around? So what we need to do here before we do a part studio is we're going to set like, where do I want to, what should be the center of this new part? So I'm going to do a little make connector. So right next to the fasten, I'm going to choose a make connector. And then I'm going to choose a spot on this to set as my kind of origin point. It doesn't really matter where that is. I just need it to be along here, somewhere along this side, so that I can build my piece in reference to this side. So I'm going to throw this, I'll just do it on the top of this. So it matters a little bit. It has to be on the face of this U channel, but it doesn't really matter where particularly. So we're going to hit check to create that make connector. Now when I do my create part studio in context, we select the make connector, say OK. All right, so as we open up our part in context here, we can see we have a few different planes to work with. We have this kind of shadowed out version of our chassis, which is helpful because we can like reference some information from that as we make our sketch, as we make our part. So what I want to do first is I want to create a sketch. The same way it works in Fusion. We start from sketches, and then we can like build pieces from there. So I'm going to start with a sketch. I want to create a sketch on the top plane. So I'm going to click sketch, and I'm going to click top plane. I'm going to be careful not to select any of the parts on the robot. I'm just going to select this top plane. Also, what I want to have access to, so right now I have a sketch that's going to be kind of in line with this, but what it doesn't give me access to is any geometry from the chassis. Like I'm just building a part kind of in this location. However, what I want to do is I want to access some of the hole locations on here so I can make my new side referencing those exact geometries. So we're going to go into here, and as I do my sketch, I'm going to click click U for use, and I can select some geometry that I want to bring into my sketch. So I'm going to select this hole right here. Looks good because I see it's kind of away from the motor. Do I have any other ones that might be good here? Maybe like this hole. Oh, actually, I think I selected the wrong thing. I'm going to select this hole right here. Did I select anything in the wrong spot, maybe? All right. So I have those two. And I think I also want to reference the bottom of my chassis because I can use that as like the bottom of the side piece that I'm going to make. So, okay, so I have those referenced into my sketch. Now I'm going to make a rectangle. So we'll go over here. There's multiple options for making a rectangle. I think by default, if we click on this, it might be center point, but I really want a corner rectangle. I want a rectangle that starts down here, and then it's going to go over. And I really want to be careful about avoiding this. You can see where this the collar is for my piece underneath here. So I'm going to make this look something like that. Okay, so I have my rectangle here. I'm going to close out my sketch. I'm going to say I'm done with my sketch, and then I want to hit extrude. We can extrude. We can select this piece in here. And it's going to create our extruded rectangle. And you'll notice because we have these holes in the original sketch, it's also going to include those holes in our extruded piece. Depth here, I'm going to make this, so we are going to make our pieces out of 1/4 inch plywood. So I'm going to change this to 0.25 inches. And that will get me like a pretty appropriate model for what I'm going to actually make. If I hit check on here, I'm done. And you can see now I've added a part into my studio down here. So next up, I can say insert and go to assembly. Insert, which parts to insert? The one I just made. We can hit check. And now we have that part added in there. Now we have a custom part added into our chassis that we can make, and we can kind of build around. We can build other pieces around this one, but that's kind of a good place to get started with on this. I guess the last thing I would do is I would probably like rename this. Let's call this like side plate. So we're going to do something more advanced with this as we go forward, but that's kind of a good place to get started. So we have a little piece. Now if we ever want to, we can take this and pass this off into our, we can send this off to our laser cutter. We could 3D print it. We could do a lot of things now that we have this part, and it would have the geometry exactly the way we need it. All right, so I'm going to stop there. That's the last thing we really need to have before we continue going forward with this and making more custom parts.